important to talk about dead issues, philosophically, theologically, religiously, scientifically, within the realm of natural philosophy, within the realm of the history and philosophy of science, within the realm of theology, for that matter. There are few dead issues that still come up as one could call intellectual questions, or maybe philosophical ponderances, sorry for being so hubristic. But there's a few things we need to just... They were important metaphors to the day that we got to get out of the way. Which came first? What came first, the chicken or the egg? As it turns out, it's a dead issue. If a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? That's actually also resolved, but it's philosophically much more tenuous and mathematically adroit. But for sure, we can say, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, the truth of the matter is the chicken. If it's an egg with a chicken. Not all eggs have chickens. So, in one sense, the question is posed incorrectly. I'm sure back in the day when that question was posed, there wasn't a differentiation between the egg with or without a red dot, except for at the extremities of symbolic literary logism. Let's call it that. So back in the day when the question was raised, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Now, according to, maybe the online etymology dictionary, or perhaps according to the Oxford English Dictionary, there's a lineage, a hierarchy of an philological, etymological, intellectual, evolutionary tree, phonetic and symbolic, that talks about the way in which the word evolved, the words. Which came first, the chicken or the egg, right? But yeah, it's a dead issue. The chicken came first, and then the egg. But sometimes the chicken didn't come at all, and then the egg. And that is logically and mythologically the reason why the question is actually wrong. That riddle is solved both in the realm of natural philosophy and it's solved both in the natural philosophy of when the question was posed, and is solved in a different way in the natural philosophy that answers the question. Because the natural philosophy of yesterday is not the same thing as the natural philosophy of today. Yet there's a thread, there's a twine, there's a sewing of a yarn, of a tale, of a story, of the moral of the story, of the ethics, of the logos, of the truth. Kinda, sorta. Might as well be. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, now we know. There's a membrane, or a series of membranes, protective of, because the chicken herself has an egg, like my mother had an egg, my mother had an egg, my mom had an egg, your mom had an egg. Whether you're a man or a woman, your mom had an egg and it was born while she was born. Half of you was born with your mother. Half of you was made before your mother was born. Not just theoretically, not just theologically, scientifically. A mother is born with all her eggs. Her eggs were formed inside her mom. Our maternal grandmothers literally scientifically built half of us mathematically in this crazy unfolding, quote unquote, I hate the term, but platonic forms. I'll give Plato his props. I mean, he's obviously done more for the world than me. But I ain't dead yet, Plato, you motherfucking bitch. And I'm not saying that against reason. People associate Plato with reason. What, you assume because he stuck around? It's funny how everybody who attacks structure still props up Plato. The anti-structuralist. His Platonic forms exist in a Cartesian grid. Reality isn't Cartesian. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, if we're talking about an egg that has any kind of chicken in it, most eggs these days don't have a chicken in it. Most eggs these days have the remnants of a mother's egg unspermiated. Most eggs these days, which we crack open and fry in our pan, back in the day, nobody gave a fuck. I shouldn't say nobody gave a fuck, but it's just chickens, eggs, eat. These days it's, mechanical. So these days inside an egg, there's no chicken. But the purpose of an egg is to have a chicken inside it. But we've reappropriated the purpose of eggs. If we believe in karma, we could say, well, it serves the dinosaurs right. For all those Tyrannosaurus rexes and all those velociraptors that tore apart the shrews, and the Sweeney Hound who populated the earth before the dinosaurs were wiped out. We mammals are exacting revenge karmically on fucking chickens and turkeys. The most at a human scale, which is like something between like a ping pong ball and like a house, right? That's basically the human scale, from a ping pong ball to like a house, however you define a house. That's more or less like a human scale, kinda, sorta, right? Yeah, you can go a little more in, yeah, you can go a ways more out, but it's basically a ping pong ball and a house. That's a human scale. roughly speaking. So on that scale, nothing is more murdered than fucking chickens by us, which is the karma against all those fucking vicious dinosaurs, man. Absolute monsters. So when we wonder about the Greek gods locking away the Titans, who the fuck else, man? Yet. Now. So these days, in panpsychism, right? Okay, so Plato, and they call him Neoplatonists. The biggest misnomer in history, Neoplatonism. Neoplatonism? No. We call it Neoplatonism through Plotinus, but it's not. It's Platonusianism via the Amblician refinement of Aristotle via Plato, lens back, destroying Socrates to Heraclitus and Diogenes in the mix. Okay, I'm not saying that's actually it. I know I'm being so affirmative. I'm so ashamed for the way I proclaim. You should understand, I don't say this enough. Maybe I'll start saying it more, like when I'm like, "Arr!" I don't mean it. I'm just getting caught up in the moment. And I recognize that it's a better story than the one I've been told. And if I've been told that story, I recognize you've been told that story. So I harsh so hard against the stories we've been told only because I know there's a better one. And I know it seems like I'm rebuting them, and you're thinking I'm supporting something else, but I'm not. Because I'm actually supporting something like so much greater and benevolent. And it's not a utopia where everything's great. It's an inner utopia where we're going to fucking hell and we're going to kill it. The greatness is in the ability to suffer the pain and the torments that the exact place and moment in time demands. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? It's a philosophical dead issue that is ill-framed. So that question first, right? You want to kill an idea? Here's how you kill an idea. I'm in a debate. My debater is allowed to say anything. There are no rules for this debate. We meet head on, as we are, with the rules that we determine at this moment, in this time now. Every exchange is an act of war. And the only question, because war is true, temporally, insofar as we can define any time in space, war is. Therefore, war is true. But fighting and conflict happen at every level. So, oppositionally, if we're in a debate, I hate to divide things into twos, but we're going to do it. One thing against another, if we're in a debate. War. Is it a war of peace? And what's that mean? Or is it a war of aggression and dominance? Well, what does dominance mean? Especially in time. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? It's an ill-framed question we know now. Now, they wouldn't have known that then. Most people wouldn't have known that then. Talk about eggs and sperm. Even 250 years ago. Oh, sperm and eggs. Huh? Now, quote unquote, esoterically. Whatever. The notions of fertility, or what do they call it? Virility. Fertility, virility. Something like that. Like, we know the question, we don't have to ask anymore. It doesn't need to be a philosophical question anymore. Here's the answer. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Here is the logical answer. Let's call this the first. Let's call this the first multi-millennial answer to so-called ancient riddles. Question. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Answer. If a chicken were to come, it came first. If a chicken were not to come, the egg came first and only. That's it. A question was asked. How many years ago? Well, in my life, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, that question was asked to me personally. Having been asked to the one who asked me 10 or 20 or 1 or 2 years before. Haven't been asked. How far back in time does that question go? 100 years, 1,000 years, 2,000 years? I just answered it. Like, it's a dead issue. How many thousands of years will it take for when people ask that question, they think of this? Or, right, I say it, then you hear it, and then you say it, and then, and then someone else hears what you say. And I can't remember ever having heard it stated specifically that way, succinctly. So yeah, I'm going to make a 20-minute video to wrap around a 10-second statement. Who knows, maybe in time, like in eternity, that's true. So it was spoken from the Omega, which was envisioned by the Alpha. So before I was, that was true, even if no one ever said it. But I just killed that question. I killed it. I destroyed that question. That question cannot be asked seriously anymore. Do you get what I'm saying? There are at least 4 billion people in the world who know. More than half of the world, 4 billion people, know that riddle. Now, I'm sure others have destroyed it. I've never heard it. I haven't looked for it, but it just occurred to me, and I thought, hey, I could make a point here. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it. Because, dude, we got... we have legions of riddles to slay and throw in the fucking trash. That's one of them. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Done. Metaphysically, it's another question, but physically, it's a dead issue. I'm not trying to be a dick about it. The type of thought that question inspires, I respect to the depths of my heart. It's simply there are better questions that inspire that twirling. And it's better to give an answer to a question like that there's an answer to. Some questions there aren't easily accessible answers to yet. Today, for approximately a third of the world, which came first, the chicken or the egg, is actually an answerable question. And no one answers it. Dead issue. It's a big deal. It's a little thing. It's the crack in the ice. Like in that movie Ice Age. Just that little bit of story logic. Myth, story, mythology. A little bit of words, a little bit of riddle, a little bit of intrigue. Purely mathematical, purely geometric, purely spatial. But once again, we think of everything. We think of the solar system like this. And we forget that it does the spinning in this precession. Right? Because it's not, the solar system isn't going like this. The solar system every 26,000 years is going like this. Right? And then it does that like, 8,000 times or whatever, going around the galaxy in a multi-million year. So it's like that's how the Earth moves. Not like this. Not just like this. See what I'm saying? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? That's the question. Answer. Answer in a debate. The question is ill posed. For the question presumes all eggs bear chickens. All eggs do not. What we can say for sure is that the egg comes last, chicken or not. And what we know now from science is that if there's a chicken, the chicken comes first. And whether there's a chicken or not, the egg comes last. Next question. Which comes first? Soul or spirit? The two questions are not completely analogous. They don't repeat, and they don't rhyme. But they mimic in hemichandral expansions. So that's what I got to say about that. Dead issue. Up for discussion. The living dead. Sorry.